This is Isaiah 2:11. The lofty looks of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of man shall be bowed down. Yahweh alone shall be exalted in that day. Verse 12. For the day of Yahweh of hosts, meaning armies, shall be upon every one that is proud and lofty, and upon every one that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Akafadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings and salutations to the Ophi elect Shalom. Yahweh being in the name of God, who the world ignorantly calls God. Bahasham in the name Yahushai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Again, it's not God, it's not Jesus Christ, it's Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai. Those are the true names of the Heavenly Father and His Son, and those are the names you are going to need to call on in these times to come and save you. Ain't no other name given among men whereby we must be saved. The only true names that are going to save you is Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, and they coming back to redeem the 1/3 of the elect, which you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native, and Seminole Indians. And 2/3 are slated for a sore destruction. This your brother Shathak Shore, and I'm coming back with another quick lesson, basically going into the lofty looks of man shall be humbled. And Esau Edom, him thinking himself to be superior, and him looking down upon others and putting himself as a high stature of being something and he's not. Yahweh Shemashah is finna humble that pride. Human pride will be brought low. Human pride will be humbled by Yahweh Shemashah. Esau Edom have exalted themselves too long. Even in this wicked society that we live in, this is a prideful society. Human pride that people have will be brought low, will be humbled. You see? So let's read this again. This is Isaiah 2:11. It says, the lofty looks of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of man shall be bowed down. And Yahweh alone shall be exalted in that day. What day is that talking about? It's talking about the day of judgment. When Yahweh Shemashah return, arrogance will be crushed. You see, human arrogance will be humbled. Yahweh Shemashah is coming out of the heavens to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity, sin, and pride. It says in the NLT, it says human pride will be brought down. You see, everyone that exalted themselves to be something will be brought low. They're going to be a public embarrassment, a public, humiliation. Yahweh Shemashah is going to torment those who are proud and lofty. You see, let's go to Google. It says, lofty looks generally means having a proud, arrogant, or haughty expression, suggesting someone consider themselves superior, often used in a biblical context like Isaiah 2:11, the one we just read. It says to describe human pride that will be humbled, but it can also refer to majestic, tall, noble in appearance, or even art of project. the lofty look and quaint uh, uh, photographs. So let's look at pride and arrogance. Most common, it says, a disdainful and haughty gaze that looks down on others, a sign of self-importance, often mentioned in religious texts as a sin to be humble. You know, you must be humble, man. Having pride is the beginning of sin, and by one committeth iniquity. Having pride, you commit iniquity, meaning sin. You see, and what does that sound like? It says disdainful, haughty gaze that looks down on others. Sound like a so-called white man, a Edomite, thinking themselves to be more superior than others, putting themselves as a high stature, looking down on others because of their riches, because of their accomplishments, you know. And that's how America show themselves, man, through their riches, you know, their achievements, their goals, you know. But hey, all that's finna be burnt. Yahweh Shemashah is finna crush and humiliate Esau Edom for their pride that they have. You know, matter of fact, this is Ecclesiasticus 10:7. It says, pride is hateful before the Most High man, and by both doth one commit iniquity. You see, having pride, you know, you commit iniquity, meaning sin. And it says pride is hateful, you know. Yahweh Shemashah doesn't deal with pride. You know, he doesn't deal with pride at all. And he coming to crush and humble that pride that people have. You know, so let's go back to Google real quick. Let's look up this word, haughty. Haughty goes into pride, arrogant, right? Arrogant. It says haughty, you know, having or revealing in its gestured sense of one's own importance or abilities. That sound like an Edomite. That sound like a so-called Edomite. You know, let's go back to Isaiah. It says, the lofty looks of man shall be humbled. So they finna be crushed and humbled. Brutally beaten. This kingdom is gonna be brought low. You know. It says, and the haughtiness of man shall be bowed down, and Yahweh alone shall be exalted in that day. That day is talking about that day of judgment, the day of his return, where he come out of the heavens and punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity and sin and pride. Verse 12, it says, for the day of Yahweh of hosts, meaning armies, shall be upon every one that is proud and lofty. So once they have a day of reckoning where Yahweh Shemashah will punish the proud and mighty. You see, Yahweh Shemashah is going to crush and humble that pride that humans have, man. You see, because they put themselves on a high stature far and beyond more than Yahweh Shemashah too as well. You know, Esau Edom put himself on a throne to be more, of Yahweh Shemashah, to be as equal. You ain't equal to Yahweh Shemashah. And Yahweh Shemashah got to show you. He got to put you in a public humiliation, a public embarrassment. He got to basically humble you. You see, it says, for the day of Yahweh of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty, and upon everyone that is lifted up. And Babylon the Great has lifted themselves up for far too long. They exalted themselves. They bring a dishonor on their souls. It says everyone that is lifted up, and it says, and he shall be brought low. That person will be brought low. Yahweh Shemashah is going to cut them down. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 1 and 30. It says, exalt not thyself, lest thou fall. It says, exalt not thyself. Because if you exalt yourself, that's having pride. Exalting yourself, especially if you're trying to exalt yourself above Yahweh Shemashah, now you going to way too far. Way too far. It says, exalt not thyself, lest thou fall. And what's the beginning? Once a person having pride is bound to fall. It says, and bring dishonor upon thy soul. So the Most High discover thy secrets. Everything that you keep secret, Yahweh Shemashah will discover it. Discover the secrets. You're going to be a public embarrassment. Everybody going to know your secret things that you keep secret. It says, so the Most High discover thy secrets and cast thee down in the midst of the congregation, in the midst of people. And that's what happened to Gorilla Hebrew. He'd exalted himself. You see? And look what happened to him. Esau Edom is going to be a public embarrassment, a public humiliation. Yahweh Shemashah is going to humiliate the shit out of Esau Edom. Excuse my language. It says, cast thee down in the midst of the congregation, because thou camest not in truth to fear the Lord. And this wicked kingdom, this wicked world that we live in, they doesn't reverence or respect Yahweh Shemashah. Look what Esau Edom has done. Iconoclasm. You see? Putting himself as the Most High. That's pride, man. Showing great pride. Just because of your technology, you think it's better than Yahweh Shemashah. Your achievements and goals that you accomplished, everything that you did, you think you did way more than Yahweh Shemashah. You went too far. It says, because thou camest not in truth to fear the Lord, but thy heart is full of deceit, meaning lies, deception. Hey, Yahweh Shemashah is finna make this kingdom wither, make this kingdom fall. He finna dismold this kingdom, man, brutally annihilate it. And as for the ones that is proud and lofty, you have a day of reckoning, and that is soon to be here. That's soon to be here. Me and another one. Salakia. It's Isaiah 24. 24. We'll start at 19. It says, the earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. And the earth has moved exceedingly. Wow. Through this nuclear missile that's going to be shot off through one end to the earth to the other. You know, that's what's going to call it to shake and collapse. You know, verse 20. It says, the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage. You know, Yahweh Shemashah is going to make this earth, you know, this wicked kingdom that we live in, reel to and fro like a drunkard. Staggered. It's like a drunk person. You see how a drunk person be walking, you know, can't even walk straight, you know, bouncing off things, you know what I'm saying? It says, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it. The transgression. That's talking about that wrath. You see, it's going to be heavy upon this place. It says, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. And this wicked kingdom will not rise again after it falls. You know, we coming into a sad time where Yahweh Shemashah is going to bring down a wicked kingdom and set up a righteous one. Verse 21, it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall punish the Salakia. It says, that day shall the Lord punish the host of the high ones. And who is that talking about? Top banking families, the wicked elites, the DuPonts, the Gettys, the Wahlbergs, the Rockefellers, you know, on and so forth. You see, they finna get brutally punished by Yahweh Shemashah, and their wicked society is finna be brought down. It said that Yahweh shall punish the host of the high ones. It says that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. So these wicked rulers is finna be brought down. You know, Yahweh Shemashah is finna crush and humble them. And they going into chains, man. You know, they gonna try to go into hiding. You know, because of these nuclear missiles being shot off, they got these underground bunkers. They got these space stations to try to hide from this destruction. But they ain't gonna be able to hide nowhere. You know, Amos 9:1-3. Can any hide from Yahweh Shemashah? No. Yahweh Shemashah gonna send for many hunters to hunt them. Fishers to turn into hunters. You know. So, with that, I hope this, you know, the lesson was edifying. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Makafadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone, peace and blessings.